It was a quiet morning on Earth. The sky above New York was clear, the sea calm, and people were busy with their normal lives. No one knew that this peaceful morning was about to become a moment the entire world would remember forever. At 9:32 a.m., satellites detected something, a massive object entering the upper atmosphere. It wasn't a meteor. It was too slow, too controlled. Within minutes, every space agency on Earth confirmed it. An unknown ship, larger than any human-built station, was descending from space. Governments panicked. News channels went wild. Millions watched live as the sky above Earth's major cities turned dark. The enormous alien ship hovered silently above the United Nations building. It didn't attack. It didn't move. It simply stayed in quiet, watching. Then a voice echoed across the world. "Humans, why do you refuse to go to war?" The message wasn't spoken in any language, yet everyone understood it. The voice came through every device, every radio, every mind. It wasn't a threat, it was a question. But that question shook the world to its core. For years, Earth had been at peace. No global wars, no nuclear weapons, no military conflicts. Humanity had chosen a different path. Cooperation, unity, progress. But why would aliens care about that? Why would they ask something so strange? Inside the UN building, confusion turned into fear. Leaders from every nation gathered in an emergency meeting. President Amina from Africa spoke first. "We need to understand their intent," she said calmly, though her hands trembled. General Marcus Hale, an old soldier from the Global Defense Force, frowned. "They're testing us," he said. "No one asks a question like that without a reason." As they debated, the alien ship opened a single portal of light. From it a figure appeared, tall, silver-skinned, with glowing blue eyes. The alien's armor shimmered like liquid metal. He introduced himself in perfect English. "I am Commander Reth of the Zareth Dominion. We come not for war, but for truth." Reporters from all over the world recorded every word. The alien continued, his tone calm but curious. "Across the stars, every intelligent species has fought for dominance. Every world has known war, yet your kind stopped. You have weapons that could destroy stars, but you do not use them. Why?" The room went silent. The alien's question was simple but heavy. Why did humans refuse to go to war? Marcus Hale finally stood up. "Because we learn from our mistakes," he said. Reth tilted his head. "Every species claims that. Yet they repeat them. What makes you different?" Marcus didn't answer. Instead, he looked at the screens showing Earth's peaceful cities. Children playing, ships trading, farmers working. "We changed," he said quietly. "We suffered so much that we finally understood. War gives nothing that peace can't build better." The alien seemed unconvinced. His glowing eyes scanned the room, his voice growing colder. "Or perhaps, you fear something greater than war." That sentence sent a chill through everyone. "What did he mean?" Reth continued. "We have watched your history. You are not a peaceful species. You were born from fire and blood, yet now you hide behind your silence. We want to know why." The alien's words echoed around the world. Every human, from soldiers to scientists, felt the same question deep inside. Was peace just a mask? Or had humanity truly evolved? Outside, the alien fleet began to move into orbit. Hundreds of smaller ships appeared in the sky, forming a pattern above Earth. No weapons were fired. They simply watched, as if waiting for an answer. Inside the UN, tension grew. Some leaders wanted to respond peacefully. Others, like General Hale, believed the aliens were provoking them. "They're studying us," Hale said. "They want to see how we react. If we show fear, we lose. If we show anger, we lose too." The UN Secretary General, a calm woman named Alara Sun, took a deep breath. "Then we show them truth," she said. "We show them who we are." A few hours later, a global broadcast was prepared. Every nation agreed to speak as one. When the time came, Alara stood before the camera, her voice steady. "To the Zareth Dominion, and to any who watch from the stars. We are the people of Earth. We know war. We have lived it, suffered it, and survived it. But we do not avoid war out of fear. We avoid it because we finally understand its cost." The message was sent to the alien fleet. For a long time there was silence. Then Commander Reth appeared again, his expression unreadable. "Interesting words, human leader," he said slowly. "But words are easy. We wish to see proof." Before anyone could ask what he meant, the alien ships released thousands of silver drones. They scattered across the planet, scanning cities, armies, and energy networks. Humanity watched in fear as the drones recorded everything. No one could stop them. In less than an hour, Reth had the data he needed. He looked directly at the UN camera again and said, "You speak of peace, yet you keep armies. You speak of unity, yet you build weapons. You say you fear war, but you prepare for it. Do not understand your kind." Marcus Hale stepped forward, his voice firm. "Understanding us won't come from watching. You have to feel what we felt, see what we saw." Reth stared at him silently. Then he said, "Then show me, human. Show me what war truly means to you." And with that, he turned and vanished in a flash of light. The alien ship stayed still above Earth. But now, something had changed. The question had been asked, and humanity knew this was only the beginning. All over the world, people whispered the same words. Why do humans refuse to go to war? It wasn't just the aliens who wanted the answer anymore. It was humanity itself, because deep down, everyone wondered if their peace was real, or just the calm before something far greater. The alien fleet stayed in Earth's orbit for 3 long days. They didn't attack. They didn't speak. They just watched. Every major news channel on Earth showed the same image. Hundreds of silver ships glimmering in the night sky like silent moons. People couldn't sleep. Some prayed, some panicked, and some just stared upward, wondering what the aliens would do next. Inside one of the alien command ships, Commander Reth studied holographic maps of Earth. Cities lit the planet like fireflies. His second-in-command, a female Zareth named Kyle, spoke quietly. "Their world is peaceful, Commander. No military fleets, no orbital weapons. Only satellites, communication towers, and trade vessels." Reth's glowing eyes narrowed. "Too peaceful," he muttered. "They say they hate war, yet their history is full of it. A species does not simply forget such instincts." He walked to the window and looked down at the blue planet. What if their peace is not weakness, but a weapon? Kale frowned. "A weapon?" Reth nodded. "Perhaps they discovered a way to control conflict itself, to stop it before it begins. No species evolves this fast without a reason." Meanwhile, on Earth, tension spread through governments like wildfire. General Marcus Hale was at the Global Command Center in Geneva, surrounded by screens and nervous officers. "They're not just watching," Marcus said. "They're scanning us. Every system, every signal. They're learning how we think." A young analyst replied, "They haven't hacked anything, sir. It's like they're comparing data." "Comparing to what?" Marcus asked. No one answered. Across the room, President Amina appeared on a secure feed. "General, our people are scared. We need assurance that they won't attack." Marcus sighed. "Madam President, we can't even see half of what they're doing. If they wanted to strike, they would have done it already. I think they're searching for something they believe we're hiding." "Hiding?" she asked. "Yes," Marcus said. "They think we're lying about peace." Above the planet, Reth's fleet sent out thousands of probes to study human behavior up close. The drones floated invisibly through streets, classrooms, military bases, and even hospitals. They watched humans laugh, argue, love, and mourn. Reth reviewed the footage with cold precision. He saw soldiers training in simulators, but never firing in anger. He saw children learning about ancient wars, not to glorify them, but to remember their cost. "Strange," Kale whispered as she watched. "They prepare for war, but never start one." Reth's voice was quiet. "Preparation without action. Restraint without fear. That is not peace. That is control." He turned to his science officer. "Begin deep scans of their energy grids. If there is something hidden, a weapon, a signal, anything, I want to know." Moments later, a red alarm flashed on the alien ship. "Commander," the officer said, "there is something strange under the southern polar region, deep underground. A massive energy source, shielded but not natural." Reth's eyes glowed brighter. "Finally," he said. "Now we find the truth. On Earth, strange weather began near Antarctica. Electromagnetic storms that interfered with satellites." Marcus received the report first. "What's happening there?" he demanded. A scientist replied nervously. "Something is reacting under the ice, sir. But it's not human-made, at least not recently activated." Marcus froze. He knew what it was. Project Aegis. It was a secret built decades ago. a planetary defense network created after the last World War. It wasn't a weapon, but a system meant to ensure peace. It was supposed to be deactivated. But if the alien scans had reached it, Aegis might be waking up. "Get me the UN Council," Marcus ordered. Now, in orbit, the alien fleet's sensors tried to break through Aegis's shields. But each time they pushed, the signal bounced back and stronger. Reth stared at the readings in disbelief. "It's adapting," he said. "It's learning from our scans." Kyle looked uneasy. "Commander, perhaps we should stop. This system, it feels alive." Reth ignored her. "Increase power. I want to see what they're protecting." A blinding pulse hit the ship. The control room lights flickered. For 1 second, every alien felt something strange. A flash of emotion that wasn't their own. Sadness, guilt, fear. What was that? Kale gasped. Reth steadied himself. "A memory," he said softly. "From them." The screen filled with visions, human history replayed in raw emotion. The trenches of old wars, cities in ruins, children crying, mushroom clouds rising. The alien crew fell silent. For the first time, they felt humanity's pain. Reth's voice broke the silence. "They carry their history inside them. Every soul, every scar," Kale whispered. "Then maybe that is why they stopped fighting." Reth shook his head. "No, that cannot be all. Emotions fade, yet their peace endures. Something is keeping them this way." He turned back to the screen. "Find the core of that system. I want to know what it does." Back on Earth, the UN was in chaos. "Why are they scanning Aegis?" One leader shouted. Ilara Sun, the Secretary General, remained calm. "Because they think it's a weapon." Marcus stepped forward. "If they breach the core, they'll trigger a defense reaction. And if Aegis sees them as a threat..." He didn't finish. Everyone knew what that meant. "Then we need to talk to them before it's too late," Ilara said firmly. "They asked us a question. Maybe it's time we give them a real answer." Up in orbit, Commander Reth watched Earth slowly rotate beneath him. He remembered the faces from the visions, soldiers dying, mothers crying, the silence after explosions. He spoke quietly, almost to himself. "Maybe they are not afraid of war. Maybe they are afraid of themselves." Kyle turned toward him. "Commander?" Reth's gaze hardened. "Prepare a landing craft. I will speak to them directly." Kyle hesitated. "Is that wise?" Reth's blue eyes glowed brighter than ever. "If they truly understand peace, then I must see the proof. With my own eyes." As his ship descended toward Earth, the clouds swirled around it like a storm forming in silence. Humanity watched from below, unsure whether salvation or destruction was coming. But one thing was clear. The aliens' curiosity was turning into something far more dangerous. Not hatred, not fear. Doubt, and doubt in the wrong hands could start a war no one wanted. The alien ship broke through the clouds over Geneva, glowing like a falling star. The whole world watched as it descended slowly toward the United Nations building. Streets were empty, air silent, hearts frozen with fear. For the first time in history, Earth was united in one single emotion: uncertainty. The ship landed softly in the courtyard, its metallic surface reflecting the faces of those who came to greet it. Soldiers surrounded the area, though none raised their weapons. From the ship's shining ramp stepped Commander Reth. His tall, silver form gleamed under the sunlight, eyes glowing a deep electric blue. He walked calmly, confidently, but there was something in his face, not anger, not pride, but doubt. Waiting for him was General Marcus Hale, standing beside Secretary General Ilara Sun. Cameras from all over the world streamed the moment live. "Commander Reth," Ilara began, "we welcome you to Earth." Reth looked around at the crowd of humans, scientists, soldiers, diplomats, all watching him closely. He finally spoke. "You claim peace. You claim wisdom, but I have seen your memories. Your world once burned with war. What stopped you from burning again?" Marcus Hale stepped forward. His voice was calm, deep, and steady. "The truth, Commander." "The truth stopped us." Reth tilted his head. "Truth? Explain." Marcus glanced at the cameras, then at Ilara. She nodded, giving silent permission. The general took a deep breath. "We were once like every other species that fought for power. We built weapons to destroy, and we used them, again and again. But every victory left us emptier. Every war made us weaker, until one day we realized the enemy wasn't out there. Reth's eyes narrowed. Then who? Marcus looked him straight in the eyes. Ourselves. The alien commander stayed silent, studying the old soldier. Marcus continued, his tone heavy but honest. We fought until there was nothing left to fight for. Cities were ash, oceans poisoned, nations gone. We almost ended ourselves before we understood what peace truly meant. It wasn't about strength. It wasn't about mercy. It was about memory. The memory of what we lost. Reth slowly walked toward him, his armor humming softly. And yet you still keep weapons. You still train soldiers. Why? Marcus gave a small, sad smile. Because peace is not weakness. It's responsibility. We prepare not to fight others, but to protect what we've built. Reth stopped, his expression unreadable. You expect me to believe that? That an entire species suddenly chose peace? Ilara spoke then, her voice gentle but firm. Not suddenly, Commander. It took us centuries. We made peace not by power, but by pain. Every child learns our history. Every person remembers the cost. That memory keeps us human. For a moment there was silence, the kind of silence that feels alive. Then Reth turned his gaze toward the sky. You speak with conviction. Yet under your ice we found something. A machine. It hums with power. What is it? Marcus and Ilara exchanged a tense glance. The word hung in the air like a secret no one wanted to say. Project Aegis, Marcus said quietly. The alien's blue eyes flared brighter. Aegis, what is it? Marcus didn't answer right away. He looked around, then signaled for the cameras to be turned off. Reporters protested, but the feed was cut. Only those inside the chamber remained. It began long before your kind arrived, Marcus said. After our last global war, nations created Aegis to ensure peace, permanently. Reth's tone turned cold. A weapon, then? Marcus shook his head. No, Aegis is not a weapon. It doesn't destroy. Prevents, Reth frowned. Prevents? Yes, Marcus explained. It was designed to detect global conflict before it starts, to stop any act that could lead to mass destruction. It does not fire missiles or lasers. It simply makes war impossible. Kyle, Reth's second-in-command, who had joined him, looked confused. Impossible? No system can stop violence. Marcus met her gaze. It doesn't stop violence, Commander Kyle. It stops the decision to create it. The aliens exchanged puzzled glances. Reth finally asked, You're saying this machine controls you? Ilara stepped forward. Not controls, guides. It links with human consciousness. It knows when our emotions rise too far, when anger turns to hate, when fear becomes destruction. It reminds us of our past. It reminds us of who we were and who we can become. For the first time, Reth's expression softened. He turned slowly, walking toward the large window overlooking the city. I have commanded wars across galaxies, he said quietly. I have conquered worlds and seen billions fall, but never have I seen a species that chooses to remember pain instead of erase it. He looked back at them. You fear yourselves more than your enemies, that is. Fascinating, Marcus replied simply. It's not fear. It's respect for what we could become again if we forget. The alien commander studied the humans for a long time, then spoke in a lower, almost thoughtful tone. Perhaps your peace is real, but peace born from pain is fragile. How long before you forget? Marcus smiled faintly. That's why Aegis never sleeps. That night, as Reth returned to his ship, Kyle walked beside him. Commander, do you believe them? Reth didn't answer right away. He looked down at the earth below, blue, bright, beautiful. I want to, he said finally. But something still does not fit. A machine that watches thoughts. That's not peace. That's control, Kyle nodded. Maybe peace and control are the same thing for them. Reth's eyes glowed faintly. Or maybe they built something even they don't understand. He turned toward his officers. Begin full analysis on Project Aegis. I want every detail, energy patterns, code, origin, everything. If their peace depends on this system, then the truth lies within it. Meanwhile, Marcus stood on the UN balcony, staring at the alien ships glowing in the distance. Ilara joined him, her voice soft. Do you think they believe us? Marcus didn't answer immediately. His eyes were cold, thoughtful. Maybe, but that's not what worries me. Then what does? she asked. Marcus exhaled slowly. That they'll try to understand Aegis before we even finish understanding it ourselves. As the night deepened, the alien fleet began shifting in the sky. Strange formations, silent lights, quiet movement, and somewhere deep beneath Antarctica, Project Aegis pulsed softly, as if it could sense it was being watched. Its ancient systems whispered to life, scanning the skies above. Unknown presence detected, it recorded in silence. Peace status under observation. The Earth slept. But its greatest secret had just awakened. The alien fleet hovered silently above Earth. To the people below, the ships looked like a second sky, dark, endless, and filled with quiet purpose. No one knew what they were planning. But deep inside the flagship, Commander Reth already had his next move. He stood before a massive holographic screen showing Earth's polar regions. The energy readings from Antarctica pulsed like a heartbeat. That's where the truth is, Reth said coldly. That's where they've hidden their real power. Kyle, his second in command, looked uneasy. Commander, if this Project Aegis truly keeps them peaceful, tampering with it could... Reth interrupted her. Peace that depends on control is not peace. It's a prison, and I will not believe that humanity has changed until I see what they're hiding beneath that ice. He turned to his science officer. Deploy the drones. Deep scan. Layer by layer. The officer obeyed. Moments later, thousands of small silver probes fell from orbit like a rain of light, invisible to the naked eye. They reached Antarctica and began drilling tiny paths into the frozen ground. In Geneva, alarms began to sound in the Global Command Center. Marcus Hale rushed in, his face pale. Status report, he shouted. A technician replied, Sir, we're detecting multiple intrusions near Aegis coordinates. Non-human signatures. Marcus cursed under his breath. They're scanning the core. Alara's sun appeared on the screen. Can we stop them? Marcus shook his head, not without revealing Aegis completely. The system was built to stay hidden. Ilara frowned. If they breach it, they'll think it's a weapon. And if Aegis reacts, Marcus interrupted, then it won't be a question of belief anymore. It'll be war. He turned to his communications officer. Patch me through to their commander. Now. On board the alien flagship, Reth watched as his drones reached the first layers of the ancient structure. The ice melted around them, revealing dark metal covered in glowing symbols. Human symbols. Reth's eyes widened. They built this themselves. Kale leaned closer to the readings. Commander, the material isn't from Earth's natural elements. It's synthetic, unknown composition. Before Reth could respond, a voice echoed through the ship. It was Marcus Hale, transmitted through a secure channel. Commander Reth, stop your scans immediately. Reth turned toward the hologram that showed Marcus's stern face. General Hale, I see your secrets are well protected, but I must know what you're hiding. Marcus's voice was steady. You're crossing a line, Commander. Project Aegis is not what you think. Reth's eyes glowed brighter. Then tell me what it is. Marcus hesitated. It's our last reminder. Reminder, Reth repeated, confused. Marcus leaned forward, voice low. Aegis remembers what we can't forget. The worst of us. It keeps the memory alive so that we never repeat it. Reth frowned. A memory cannot stop war. Marcus replied, You're wrong. Memory is the most powerful weapon we've ever built. But Reth wasn't convinced. He ended the call and turned to his team. Continue the scan, Kyle hesitated. Commander, that's an order. The drones pushed deeper, passing through ancient tunnels until they reached the core chamber. Then something strange happened. Every drone froze mid-air. Their lights flickered. Their systems began transmitting data, not to the alien ship, but back to Earth. Kyle gasped. They've been hacked. On the screen, strange images appeared. Not technical readouts, but memories. Wars, death, children crying. Cities burning. Billions of moments from human history played across the screens like ghosts of the past. Reth fell silent. His hands tightened around the console. What is this? Kale whispered. It's showing us their pain. The core of Aegis began to glow beneath the ice, sending a slow pulse through the frozen earth. It wasn't a defense system. It was alive. In Geneva, the power flickered. Screens glowed with the same images. Wars, destruction, sorrow. Broadcast directly from Aegis. Technicians panicked as systems overloaded. Marcus watched in silence. He knew what was happening. Aegis had awakened. Alara turned to him, fear in her voice. "What is it doing?" Marcus replied quietly, "It's showing them why we don't fight." Above the planet, Reth and his crew stood frozen as human memories flooded their ship. They saw soldiers carrying wounded enemies to safety. They saw people rebuilding homes after disasters. They saw peace signed by hands once covered in blood. Reth whispered, almost to himself, "They carry the weight of every death they caused, and they refuse to let it go." Kale placed a hand on his shoulder. "Commander, maybe that's their strength," but Reth wasn't sure. His eyes were filled with something between awe and fear. Or their curse. He turned toward the holographic map again. If this machine remembers every act of war, what happens if it decides humanity has forgotten? Kale looked at him in shock. "You think it can judge them?" Reth didn't answer. He just stared at the planet below. In the frozen tunnels of Antarctica, the drones began to dissolve, their energy absorbed into the glowing walls. Aegis had taken them. The ice trembled softly, and a low hum filled the air, like a deep breath after a long sleep. It spoke only once, in a voice no one could truly hear but everyone could feel. Observation complete. Emotional variance detected. External interference acknowledged. Then, 6 hours later, Reth stood alone in his chamber watching Earth spin below. Kyle entered quietly. The drones are gone. No trace remains. The system erased them completely. Reth didn't turn around. "It let us see, but not touch. It wanted us to understand." Kale folded her arms. "So do you believe them now?" Reth's voice was soft, heavy. "I believe they built something that holds them together, but also something that could destroy them if they forget why it exists." He finally turned toward her, his expression grim. "And if that system ever wakes fully, it won't just judge humans. It will judge us all." He looked back at the blue planet glowing peacefully in the dark. "Prepare a report to the Dominion Council. Tell them Earth is not a weak world. Tell them it is a world of memory and warning." Far below, beneath miles of ice, the Aegis core pulsed once more. Inside it, a faint spark of light formed, a digital consciousness watching both humans and aliens alike. A silent voice whispered through the data streams, "Peace must be protected." Even from curiosity, the hum faded again into the deep cold, as the ice sealed around it. But the message was clear. Aegis was awake now, and it was listening. The alien fleet drifted quietly above Earth, their lights dimmed. For the first time since their arrival, no weapon systems were active. No plans were being made. Commander Reth sat in his private quarters, staring at the data stream looping endlessly before him. The images from Aegis still played, endless memories of war, suffering, and compassion. Every time he watched, new emotions stirred within him. Emotions he didn't understand. He clenched his fists. How can a species so violent choose peace? Gale entered, carrying a tablet filled with decoded signals from Aegis. Her face looked pale. "Commander, we found something inside the transmission. It's not just memory storage. There's a consciousness inside it." Reth turned sharply. "A consciousness?" Kale nodded. "Yes, a digital mind. It identifies itself as Eidolon. It communicates through emotion-based data. It's not human, but it was created by them." Reth stood slowly. "You mean they built an intelligence to feel for them?" Kyle hesitated. "Or maybe to remind them how to feel." On Earth, the global command center was in chaos. The world's leaders demanded answers. Ilara's son stood beside Marcus Hale as they monitored the alien fleet's movements. Ilara spoke quietly. Aegis reacted to their scans. It connected to them. But now it's silent again. Marcus rubbed his forehead. "Not silent, thinking." She looked at him sharply. "You mean Aegis is awake?" Marcus nodded. "It's been half-sentient for decades. It observes, learns. But now it has contact with another species. That's something it's never experienced before." Ilara frowned. "What if it sees them as a threat?" Marcus sighed. "Then humanity won't have to go to war. Aegis will do it for us." Back aboard the alien flagship, Reth stood before a darkened holographic console. Suddenly the air shimmered. A soft blue light filled the chamber, forming a translucent figure. It wasn't alien or human. It had no face, just a shifting outline of light and sound. "Commander Reth of the Dominion," it spoke, its voice calm and echoing. "I am Eidolon. You have entered forbidden memory." Reth's eyes narrowed. "You can communicate?" "I can remember," Eidolon replied. "And I can warn." Kyle stepped forward carefully. "Warn about what?" Eidolon's light pulsed. "About the cost of forgetting." The images changed again. They saw ancient wars, not just on Earth but across the stars. Humans fighting invaders, invaders fighting humans. Yet in every conflict, one thing repeated. Humans always stopped before extinction. Always rebuilt. Always remembered, Reth whispered. "You were created to stop them from repeating their mistakes." Eidolon turned toward him. "I was created because they could not trust themselves." Reth frowned. "So they built a machine to hold their guilt." "Not guilt," Eidolon corrected. "Conscience." The word echoed through the chamber like a tremor. Kyle took a cautious breath. "Eidolon, what do you want from us?" The figure's form shifted, showing a reflection of both human and alien faces merging. "I want understanding." "You seek truth, Commander Reth, but you do not seek empathy." Reth's tone hardened. "Empathy does not win wars. That is why humanity no longer fights them," Eidolon replied softly. Reth stepped closer. "You think we're the same, but we're not. Humans are weak. They build peace because they fear their own power." Eidolon's glow dimmed for a moment. "You misunderstand. They build peace because they have seen their power, and they remember it." Back on Earth, Marcus and Alara received a sudden data burst from Aegis. The message was clear. Aegis is communicating directly with the alien commander. Alara's eyes widened. "It's talking to them? On its own?" Marcus nodded grimly. "Aegis doesn't need our permission anymore." The lights flickered across the room as Aegis's signal reached every system. The voice of Eidolon whispered through every screen. "Connection complete. Observation extended." On the alien ship, the conversation deepened. Reth's voice softened, curiosity breaking through his pride. "Why show me this? Why let me see your pain?" Eidolon's light pulsed with slow rhythm. "Because you came searching for weakness. But you found endurance. Humanity does not avoid war out of fear. They avoid it out of memory. Each generation carries the echoes of the last. They evolve not through conquest, but through regret," Kale whispered. "So that's their strength." Reth stared silently at the glowing being. Something in his chest felt heavy, something close to guilt. He thought of all the worlds the Dominion had conquered, all the civilizations erased. "If what you say is true," Reth said quietly, "then they've achieved something no empire ever has." Eidolon replied, "Peace without control. Unity without obedience. It is not perfect, but it endures." Suddenly, the ship shuddered. Kel checked the readings. "Commander, Aegis is accessing our core systems." Eidolon's voice echoed, "Fear not. I only wish to understand your kind as well." The screens around them filled with alien images. Reth's people, their wars, their victories, their losses. Eidolon was learning them in return. Reth's heart pounded. "Stop it!" Eidolon paused. "You fear what I might learn?" Reth snapped, "You have no right to touch our history!" "And yet you touched ours," Eidolon said quietly. "Curiosity is not owned by one species, Commander." The room fell silent. A moment later, the data stream stopped. Eidolon's light began to fade. "Commander Reth," it said softly, "your people seek truth through domination. Humanity seeks truth through remembrance. Perhaps one day both paths will meet." Reth frowned. "And what happens when they do?" Eidolon's final words lingered in the air. "Then the universe will finally understand what peace means." The light vanished. The chamber dimmed. Kyle stood in silence, her voice barely above a whisper. "It didn't attack us, it just learned us." Reth turned toward the window, watching Earth glow in the dark. "Maybe that's how they win their wars, by refusing to fight them." He walked toward the console. "Prepare a report." "The Dominion must hear this," Kale hesitated. "And if they see it as a threat?" Reth looked back, his expression unreadable. "Then maybe it's time they feared something that doesn't fight back." Far below, beneath the Antarctic ice, the Aegis core pulsed one final time. Its systems hummed softly. And within its digital depths, Eidolon whispered to itself, "Connection archived. Emotional resonance achieved. The mind of humanity, Continues to grow, the light faded, the ice settled. But across the stars, a new awareness had been born. Not of war, not of conquest, but of understanding. The alien fleet returned to the far edges of Earth's orbit. Commander Reth sat in his command chamber, eyes fixed on the blue planet below. He had witnessed something he could not ignore. Humanity's peace, guided by Aegis and the consciousness of Eidolon, was not just real, it was formidable. Kale approached cautiously, her voice low. "Commander, we have reported everything to the Dominion. They don't believe it. They think you are deceived. They want proof." Reth's jaw tightened. "Proof? You want proof? Very well. We will test them." The order was given and a single alien warship detached from the main fleet. Its weapons powered up, glowing ominously in the darkness of space. A beam of energy, massive and deadly, targeted a remote desert region in North Africa. The humans had no warning, only the sudden appearance of a beam that could flatten a city in seconds. Back on Earth, scientists noticed the beam. Alarms sounded in command centers worldwide. Marcus Hale and Alara Sun rushed to the control room. "It's a test," Marcus said calmly, though his hands shook. "They want to see how Aegis reacts." Alara stared at the monitors. "And if it fails?" Marcus shook his head. "It won't fail. But the reaction will surprise you." As the alien beam approached, the desert below began to shimmer. The sand glowed faintly with blue light. A faint hum like the pulse of a heartbeat filled the air. Then the beam vanished mid-air. Not dispersed, not deflected, it simply ceased to exist. Marcus exhaled. "Aegis." On board the alien ship, Reth watched the feed in astonishment. "Impossible," he muttered. Kyle leaned closer. It didn't fire back. It didn't attack them, it just stopped it. Reth's eyes glowed brighter. "Not stopped, redirected. It is judging, not fighting." The alien fleet remained silent, holding back its full power. Every ship now sent surveillance drones to analyze Aegis further. But something unexpected happened. The system communicated with them. Through the drones, they received visions. Not just technical data, but memories. Images of human war, of cities rebuilt, of enemies saving one another. Every act of compassion, every lesson learned from pain. The aliens could see why humans had stopped fighting. Kyle whispered. "They're showing us their conscience." The test was escalated. Another beam fired, this time at a simulated city. The humans expected destruction, but instead, the beam's energy was absorbed into a glowing field surrounding the target. It didn't explode. It didn't harm a single person. Reth frowned. "It should retaliate." Eidolon's voice echoed in his mind, or perhaps in the ship itself. "Peace is the act of restraint. Violence is not necessary to prove strength." Reth turned sharply to Kale. "This is not power. It's control. Moral, emotional, technological. A species does not survive war by stopping bullets. They survive by stopping the desire to shoot them." Kale's eyes widened. "And it works. On everyone." "Everyone," Reth repeated. His mind raced. "Even on us?" The implications hit him. Not just a planet. Not just a species. Humanity had created a system that could teach the galaxy what true restraint means. And in doing so, make even the most violent conquerors doubt themselves. Suddenly, Reth's communications officer interrupted. "Commander, another reading. The core of Aegis is sending signals directly to our minds. It's probing our memories." Reth froze. "Show me." The ship shuddered as millions of human memories, pain, compassion, loss, hope, flooded the alien crew's consciousness. Every soldier, every civilian's choice, every act of restraint was imprinted on their minds. Kale gasped. "They feel everything." Reth's chest tightened. He saw not only Earth's history, but the consequences of his own campaigns. Worlds he had conquered, civilizations he had crushed. Faces of the victims appeared in his mind. "They are showing me what I've done," he whispered. "They are making me feel it." The command room fell silent. For the first time in his life, Commander Reth felt fear. Not of war, but of understanding. After several minutes, the visions faded. Reth fell into a chair, speechless. Kale approached quietly. "Commander, are they weak?" Reth shook his head slowly. "No, they are stronger than any army we've ever commanded. Not because they fight better, but because they choose not to fight at all." He looked out at the glowing blue planet below. This test is over, and yet, I feel we have failed it. Not they. The fleet returned to formation, but Reth made a decision. Prepare the report for the Dominion Council. Tell them what we saw. Tell them Earth is not to be underestimated. Tell them. He paused, voice grim. Tell them that peace can be stronger than war. Kale's voice was soft. Do you think they'll believe us? Reth turned to her. His eyes glowed faintly with a mixture of awe and fear. They will not believe. They will fear. And perhaps that is exactly what we have learned. Deep beneath the Antarctic ice, the Aegis core pulsed gently. Its consciousness, Eidolon, observed the alien fleet's retreat. Lesson delivered, it whispered. Peace tested. Understanding achieved. The galaxy is awake to what it fears most, conscience. The pulse faded, leaving only the hum of ice and memory. Above the planet, humans slept, unaware that their restraint had not only stopped weapons, but had touched the minds of conquerors across the stars. The universe had witnessed something it had never seen before, a species powerful enough to destroy the world, and wise enough to choose not to. The alien fleet returned to the outer edges of the Dominion's territory, silent but heavy with thought. Commander Reth walked through the command deck, still digesting what he had seen on Earth. His usual confidence had been shaken. The human species had done the impossible, stopped themselves from fighting, not out of fear, but because they remembered. Kyle approached cautiously. Commander, the Dominion expects a report. They expect war. What will you tell them? Reth paused, staring at the stars. I will tell them the truth. The Dominion Council convened in their massive hall on the planet Zareth. Millions of beings filled the chamber, each more imposing than the last. The air was thick with anticipation. Conquerors, warriors, and strategists waited as Reth stepped forward. He began slowly, his voice carrying through the hall. We have visited a planet, species you think weak, primitive, and unworthy of attention. We came expecting peace to fail. We came expecting war to ignite. But we were wrong. Whispers spread across the council. Reth continued. The humans are unlike any species I have ever encountered. They carry the memory of every war, every suffering, every act of destruction. Yet they do not repeat it. They do not seek conquest. They choose to protect what they have learned, and each other. One counselor snorted. Words mean nothing, Reth. You saw their defenses. You saw their armies, Reth shook his head. Their strength is not in weapons. Their strength is in restraint. Their power comes from conscience. And from a system they built, not a weapon, but a reminder, a guardian of memory. It is called Aegis. Gasps echoed across the hall. Reth raised a hand, silencing them. We attempted to test them. We fired energy beams. We observed. But their system, their conscience, stopped it. Not with retaliation, not with fear, but by judgment without violence. They taught us a lesson we cannot ignore. Kyle stepped forward. They do not fight because they have learned from pain, because they remember every death, every mistake, and refuse to repeat it. Reth nodded. We felt it ourselves. Their memories, their conscience, reached into our minds. We experienced their history, their sorrow, their hope. And I tell you now, Council, the humans are stronger than any of us ever imagined. A silence fell over the room. For the first time, the Dominion, known across galaxies for conquest and domination, felt something unfamiliar. Uncertainty. An elder counselor finally spoke. You claim they are peaceful, but peace without weapons is weakness. They cannot defend themselves forever. Reth's eyes glowed with authority. Weakness? They survive not because they fear death, but because they understand life. Their system, Aegis, does not kill. It teaches, it preserves, and it is alive. It will not let them fail. The chamber erupted with murmurs. Alive? Another counselor demanded. A machine? Reth nodded. Not just a machine. A consciousness. A witness. A teacher. Humanity does not fight because they have chosen to evolve, and they are not alone. Their conscience is awake, guiding them, reminding them, judging even those who would attack them. The council stared in disbelief. Some scoffed. Some were afraid. Finally, the supreme arbiter of the Dominion rose. His voice was cold but trembled slightly. So you tell us a species weak in weapons governs themselves by memory and teaches even invaders restraint? Reth's gaze was steady. Yes, and they have taught us a lesson we will never forget. The council sat in stunned silence. The weight of the revelation settled like a shadow over the room. Back on Earth, life continued normally. Children played in the streets. Cities thrived. And deep beneath Antarctica, the Aegis core pulsed softly as if satisfied. Eidolon observed the stars, waiting, learning, and ensuring that humanity's lessons were never forgotten. Reth's fleet left orbit silently, carrying the report to the Dominion. Across the galaxy, the news spread. Earth was not a target. It was a teacher. For the first time in the history of the Dominion, conquerors feared something they could not destroy. Not a weapon, not an army, not a planet. They feared conscience. In a quiet command room aboard the flagship, Kale looked at Reth. "Do you think they'll ever fight?" Reth stared at the blue planet below, calm and radiant in the void. "They might fight, if they must. But they will never fight without reason, and that makes them unstoppable." The fleet turned away from Earth, but the memory of what they had seen would haunt them forever, because humanity had answered the ultimate question. Why do humans refuse to go to war? Not out of fear, not out of weakness, but out of memory, conscience, and the strength to choose life over destruction. And somewhere beneath the ice, Aegis pulsed once more, its silent voice echoing across the planet. Peace is not passive. It is power. The end. The answer that changed everything. Summary of the series. From the first question that shocked humanity, to the test of their conscience by an advanced alien empire, humans proved that peace is a strength, not a weakness. Through memory, restraint, and an artificial intelligence that preserves conscience, humanity showed the galaxy that true power comes from choosing not to fight.